Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. This is actually a huge story. I'm surprised I haven't heard people talking about this yet, but this is, in my opinion, this is a really big deal, and I'm going to watch this very closely. Warren Ellis and Ben Temple Smith are going to complete Fell, their book, at Image Comics. That means Warren Ellis is back working and presumably trying to work in comics. Again, huge news. There's a lot to go over here that I think is worth talking about. So we'll get into that. First off, Downcast number 3, Submerged. This is live on Indiegogo. Look at this. We passed 500 backers. Thank you to everybody that's supported the project. Appreciate it. We only have 9 days left. Now we're in the last leg of the journey. It went by really quickly. I will be extending the campaign, but this date's pretty important because this is going to be cutoff numbers for print runs and other items, not just for the book, but for other items. So if you're interested in a really, really well written, if I do say so myself, well drawn on Nacho's behalf, and well lettered, well edited, I'm really excited about this book, guys. We worked really hard on it. And I think, especially if you enjoyed Downcast 1 and 2, you're going to love this book. So don't forget to pick up your copy. And if you can do it sooner rather than later, that would really help out. Thanks. All right. So Warren Ellis, this is on Newsarama. Warren Ellis plans to return to comics with Image and Ben Temple Smith. I'm going to go back to Twitter to show you a few of the reactions because I hate to say it, but it is entirely going to be about reactions. This is floating the return of somebody who has been canceled, and how people are going to react is everything, because cancellation is all about reaction. It's about a company or an individual being afraid of the reaction of others and them suddenly disappearing. Essentially, that's what happens. They no longer work in the industry. So in this case, Warren Ellis, I'll be honest, I've covered a lot of the stories of Me Too allegations and some pretty disgusting and heinous sexual harassment that has gone on in the comic book industry. Stuff that absolutely I think is terrible, and in some cases people should be prosecuted and serve time for things that they did in the comic book industry. Absolutely disgusting in many cases. In the case of Warren Ellis, though, what this was, I think, is a little bit of definition creep. This happens quite often today, and that's when somebody equates, for example, words with violence. You said something mean or inappropriate, therefore it's violence. And the same thing happens with like flirtation, or even I don't know, things adults do. They'll equate that with sexual harassment when there honestly it's just not true. It is a gross overstatement of the facts. Okay. Now I'm glad I'm a married man, and I'm don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. So I think you're in danger. It's a bad idea to do this kind of stuff. Clearly, that Warren Ellis did, but is it something that he should no longer be working in comics for? I don't think so. I've never seen any evidence, anything to suggest that he's as in a bad of a situation as many of the other people. Who's that guy at Dark Horse, the editor? I mean, he did some pretty terrible stuff, allegedly. Anyway, so in this case, he's returning. This is important. First, Ben Temple Smith clearly knows Warren Ellis. They've worked together. And for Ben Temple Smith to make this essentially a statement just by working with Warren Ellis, this is really important. It's a big deal. And I don't know how Ben Temple Smith stands on a lot of issues. I've seen a lot of his crowdfunding campaigns, comics over the years. Personally, I think his art is actually really cool and creepy. But in this case, he's also apparently someone who's at least for forgiveness. I'll say that much, but we'll see how this pans out. So artist Ben Temple Smith has revealed on his Instagram and Patreon that he and writer Warren Ellis will re-team to continue their creator-owned title Fell at Image Comics. Originally published for 9 issues starting in 2005, Fell has been on hiatus since 2008. That's a very long time. And it begs the question, I'm going to just run over here to Instagram. It begs the question, is this because it's time for the series to come back? Is this because Warren Ellis had nothing going for him? And so this is Ben Temple. All it took was Ben Temple Smith to say, let's give this a shot, and Image Comics to say, let's give this a shot. I suspect the weak link here is probably going to be Image Comics. If it's one of these three people, it's going to be Image. So we'll see how committed they are to having Warren Ellis write. So here's on Instagram, Ben Temple Smith. Yeah, it's finally going to be finished. More info on the Squid Army Patreon. Okay, that's it. It's just that it's going to be finished. And that also makes me wonder too, is this certainly going to be on Image? He does have hashtag Image Comics here, but if it was started at Image, I could see why the hashtag's there. It is creator owned, so I don't see any reason why, Image could actually back out of it, but we will see what happens. Let's see. Temple Smith states that the new chapter of Fell will be a single volume of work. This could also be crowdfunded. I'm just speculating. Though he does not elaborate on the format. The news includes a new promo image seen here. He's actually done one piece. It's posted on Instagram. The return of Fell marks Warren Ellis's first apparent new comic book work since allegations of sexual misconduct were levied against the writer by several young women, after which he issued a statement via his Orbital Operations email newsletter that did not address any specific allegations. Of course, it wouldn't. Though I think a denial could be better, but I'm guessing, none of the allegations themselves were actually illegal activity, or, it was inappropriate on both parties' parts. I guess if it was inappropriate, it was inappropriate for both parties. That's the part that's so strange about this. It continues, so allegations directly, but acknowledged some culpability in what he referred to as as these mistakes. Sure, mistakes happen all the time. Is that the Bill Clinton way of saying it? Mistakes happen. Okay, so following allegations, Ellis retreated from mainstream comic books with several planned projects falling by the wayside, including a story tied to DC's Dark Knight's death metal event. Warren did complete several other stories following these events, including DC's The Batman's Grave Limited series, though he's since been absent from comic books. Temple Smith's statement only seems to refer indirectly to the circumstances, vaguely acknowledging Ellis's now concluded hiatus from comic book work. Fell is finally, this is going back to Temple Smith, what he said, Fell is finally going to be finished. Okay, it's finally happening. For better or for worse, this is unfinished business to me. We really left it hanging. Obviously, so much has changed since those days. Yes, I know, so much. He reads a statement. That's how the statement reads. That doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it's been long enough that just tons has happened. I don't know that it has anything to do with that, but we'll continue on. He continues, not for me to speak for Warren, but I agreed to do the book, and I'm glad he's going to be doing some comics again. The statement continued, I don't think anyone thought he'd buggered off and work in a shoe factory or anything. He is, after all, one of the most important comic writers of the past few decades. That tells me this is a classic PR move. Classic. This is traditional public relations. That is, if you find yourself in hot water, you disappear for 6 months to a year, and then you reappear and get back to work. And so that tells me that I think Warren Ellis's statement, at least in his mind, was intended to be an apology, basic apology for anybody that he's hurt their feelings, whatever, and let's move on. That's very different from apologizing for illegal activity or admitting to illegal activity, because let's remember, nobody alleged that he actually did anything illegal. It was essentially flirty emails. Again, not something that I would do, but whatever. I mean, you can't just change the rules. Like that, it's the way that things had worked. You could talk with people, you can flirt, you can do that. Anyway, we continue here. Fell tells the story of homicide detective Richard Fell as he investigates the violent and bizarre crimes that take place in the so-called Feral City. Close enough. We get what it means. Let's see. This is more from Ben Templesmith. It means a lot to me to finish this thing finally, so I couldn't say no. I guess we'll let the market speak as to how things go. Ooh, yeah, that is interesting because this is going to decide a lot. So, I don't actually own any of Ben Templesmith's work. Again, I think his art style is kind of cool and creepy. Myself, I realize it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think with this making a statement, personally for me, when this book comes out, I would like to purchase a copy of it because I would also like to make a statement here. If people are going to get canceled, it would be nice to see them get uncanceled. If they're not going to be prosecuted for what they've done, or if their crimes are just social crimes, then they should be able to work. You know, if clearly if fans are still willing to support them. So Templesmith states we're pretty much past the old concept of 199 comics. Sadly, these days. So from what I know, this will be a single volume of work, and I hope I'm not speaking out of place by saying yes. It'll still be through Image, so that answers the question. Image Comics will be publishing it. Warren got me some script, so I'm starting on pages now. And Templesmith's statement concluded. So in addition to the other projects I'm working on, Squid Spit, Hair of the Dog, Unarked Black Blood, and Hebrews of the Universe thing, the Squid Army Patreon is going to be privy to a bunch of my process work on all the pages, as always, Hell Squid and all that. Templesmith's statement did not include any projected release date for the new volume of Fell. Neither Ellis nor Image Comics have released any statement about the return of Fell. So this is Ben Templesmith. Again, in my opinion, Ben Templesmith's statement here is a total classic public relations move in that he's not in hot water and he's making the case for Warren's reappearance, if for no other reason than it's about a comic. We're making a comic here. So Image Comics, I suspect, will probably ignore this whole situation, at least publicly, unless they are forced into making some kind of a statement. I don't think they'll do that, though, because Image tends to not. They tend to completely avoid it, which is fine. If they are publishing the book, then it doesn't really matter. The fact that the book is going to be made is a statement enough. Warren Ellis is likely to stay quiet a little bit longer as people become accustomed to this book that's going to be coming. But let's see. Let's just look at here real quick. I do want to see what people are saying. And so far, I haven't seen much at all. Image has 0 standards. This shall not happen. I don't know if it's supposed to be this should not happen. It should not happen that he's returning to make comics. Okay. With someone saying F this. And then here's another response. Can't wait for this. Love Warren's work. So I guess there's the question for you all. And this is a bleeding cool article. We could have gone there too. But I'm curious, is there redemption if you've been canceled? Is there something you can be canceled for that there is no redemption? And it's funny because we're talking about these, and these are actually social ills. Clearly, if you've been put in prison, you're in prison. That's one thing. But what is the punishment for social crime? Like, how long until you pay for your sins? Is it a life sentence? I don't understand where this is, how long it's going to last. I'm not going to go over Rich Johnson's take here, but I'm sure it's, yeah, okay, maybe I will. Okay, he says Templesmith didn't mention the elephant in that room, that it is currently 1 year after multiple allegations of sexual harassment and grooming by women and non-binary individuals were made against the writer Warren Ellis, with dozens of accounts gathered together a month later on the So Many of Us website. While the website specifically stated that there was no wish to see Ellis punished, really, no, we don't want to see him punished because he didn't do anything punishable. Jeez. Ellis did withdraw from a number of creative projects, including the new Batman series. Of course he did. Of course he did. To save face. It continues. DC Comics continued to publish his Batman the Grave series drawn by Brian Hitch, but aside from a teased return of a newsletter, Ellis has not returned to new work since. So here we go. I guess we'll find out what happens. Maybe it is the elephant in the room, but we're talking about it now. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to check out Downcast 3 Submerged on Indiegogo right now. Back it, help us. We really want to hit that 30K so everyone gets a foil stamp on their book. But I'd love to see us climb even higher. I think we can do that. So help us reach new heights, and I promise you will not regret it. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.